First of all, I would like to share this with the council members. This is a presentation that was given to the city on behalf of the National Association.
I have the audio for the pledge, but I don't have it anymore.
Sunday, the events concluded on Sunday with our showing of Polar Express here in the Civic Center. We had some amazing employees that went above and beyond in decorating and preparing for that event. It went extremely well. I will estimate we had about 150 kids throughout the day. And so maybe here and there about 300 or so people that attended. We did learn some things, and so we're going to try to do it a little bit better next year. Make sure that we get more participation. So the hot dogs were donated. The cost of the licensing for the movie was donated, as well as other sponsors that the city. So that's what.
And I'd like to comment on that because it didn't cost the city of any taxpayers. This is all money that's been donated by individuals. And then the staff worked on their own time to put together the express.
Okay,
which is awesome. Okay, fantastic job. Compliments on the train and the passenger car that was attached to it. So I'd like to thank the city staff. I mean, there's the first time we've ever had it, as I said, and evident by the award we were given. So great job.
I think especially we want to thank Heather Yang, who's our HR coordinator, because she stayed on top of all of us to make sure everything stayed on track and focused with the vision that we have for the weekend. So thanks.
Okay, city staff updates.
Mayor, we've got the quarterly report from the Visitor Center by Ellen Melvin and the tourism report by Director of Tourism, Chris Risha.
Ellen had some family medical situations, so she's not able to be here tonight, but I will present her report as well as mine. In your packets, you should have the Visitor Center visitation data for July, August, and September. One thing she wanted me to let you all know is that the August numbers are the first ones where we have last year with the current staff. So she's confident in the 2017 numbers beginning in August. And so July, she received the books from before and she couldn't confirm them. So in July, there were 731 walk-in visitors. In August, there were 520. And in September, 531. In all three of those months, as it has been consistent as long as I've been working in this sphere here, the vast majority are in-state visitors. In July, that was 633. In August, 462, and in September, 429, with small numbers from some of the other states and from some other countries as well. And one thing I wanted to point out at the very bottom of the report is the events packets that Ellen has been putting together for events as they request them. And note on September in 2017, she did 10 packets. And in September of 2018, she did 125 packets. And she has well over 100 packets a month that she's putting together to welcome attendees at various events. And she's doing a really good job with that. She's upgrading the bags and stuff we put it in. She's been sort of accepting Sol Ross bags and things like that, some True Value ones, but she's got some Alpine branded ones so that way we can have more ownership of the materials she's handing out. So she's doing very well with that. Do any of you have any questions about any of the other numbers you're seeing as far as Visitor Center goes? I'll let her do a better job next time on the Visitor Center. Like I did last time, I'll show you guys a few of the ads and other materials that we're doing. We got a really long report this time with for the tourism promotion. With the new contract, Megan and Jessica and I discussed a new reporting format. And so what you're seeing is basically the sum total of 3 monthly reports, or I guess 2 for my first 2 months of this fiscal year that I had submitted to Jessica. So there's a lot of stuff in there. And let me know going forward if it's too much. And
We have pictures.
we have a few pictures. Yes. Among the print advertising that we did so far this quarter, this is a full page ad from San Antonio magazine that's running in their January issue. The top photo is new. That's by Dan Klepper, who is from Marathon. He has a gallery there. He does a lot of photography for Texas highways and does really excellent work. You can't really see it on this image, but the thing that's really nice about this shot is up in the corner behind the Alpine, Texas, the stars are starting to come out in that shot, so he really gives a nice feeling of the evening starting to settle in. The reason for that is since we're trying to drive hotel stays, we're trying to associate in people's mind Alpine in the evening, that they spend their days shopping in Alpine, of course, but also doing day trips around the area and come back and stay in our queue. Another thing I want to point out, at the bottom corner, there's a little mark there that's new. That arose from, we're working on a mobile app and a map software for the website. And so this is the icon for the app once we get it in the App Store. And since we had this nice little piece of artwork, we started using it as a little stamp. One thing I might propose going forward is, with your permission, and something for you guys to consider, perhaps allowing this mark, maybe with the website on top of the mountains there, to be used in recognition when events do ads that are funded by the hotel occupancy tax. Right now they use the city seal to recognize Alpine sponsorship. And I would suggest that a mark like this that has our website in it might be more effective promotionally in some of those cases. But it's for you guys to say if that's appropriate. The placement in those cases for the city seal.
So Chris, relative to that, Jessica will bring something forward to council.
Yeah, and so when that comes, I'll get you some more visuals to show you how it would look.
So do you think we'll have the app?
I hope within the next 2 weeks.
Maybe in January. What's that app that they will all tie together?
And in your report, you talked about a widget. Are you referring to the app as the widget?
The app is called Visit Widget, and so it's I looked into it because we were using Google Maps plugin on our website, and I didn't really like how it looked. This was an upgrade for that, and it had itineraries and things like that built in, and the mobile app came as part of the package. So that gives us something that we've never had to date. And it's easy to update because I can keep it up to date to the same interface with the website. On our digital ads, we did 10 ad campaigns across the 2 months, showing 257,122 impressions to 133,342 viewers, with 16,702 engagements. And the reason I go over those numbers is our cost per 1,000 viewers for Facebook ads is consistently our lowest. If you look at all the print ads that we do, and they're very valuable, our cost per 1,000 is considerably higher than that. So we're looking at $8.65 per 1,000 viewers on the digital ads through Facebook. I'm investigating some other digital platforms. They're called native ads, where you'll see we would do an Alpine article, and then it would show up at the bottom of similar articles on news websites across the web, things like that. I'll then investigate how well we do in terms of bang for the buck. In terms of our social media activity, we are up considerably over last year on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We had a good month on Facebook. We had 668,965 impressions for our posts, and that was up 275% over last year. One thing that we're just starting to use in our social media is the winners and then the entries for the 2018 photo contest. We got those winners in and announced them last week and started. And so this is really the core of the content that I share throughout the year on all this social media. We got well over about 360 photographs this year. The quality was really high. So that at very low cost gives us really good content for the whole year. And then this is one of the posts. This was our best performing Facebook post for the last couple of months. CNN.com, a freelancer contacted me looking for photographs for the article she was writing about a West Texas road trip. And of course, because of me and how helpful it was, Alpine was first on the list in her article. And so I shared it, and we got 37,443 people reached. That's not impressions. It would probably be higher for the impressions. But that's other than the photographs, this is a representative content for a post. One other thing that happened that was pretty nice this year, I got a call from Texas Highways. They planned a railroad hotel feature, and I did some fact checking for them about the Holland Hotel and gave them some information about our Christmas in Alpine event. And so the page on the right is the feature that they did on the Holland in that article with a little tag for our December 1st Christmas event. But the nice added was that's page 3 of the article is this mount with the Santa Claus hat that's in the Holland Hotel lobby. In that issue, we also had a half-page photo of our Amtrak station that illustrated in their gift guide giving Amtrak tickets, as well as a nice mention in a column. So we, overall, I approximated $23,300 in ad value in that issue of Texas Highways alone. We also had a lot of really good coverage in Ride Texas, the motorcycle magazine, in the fall. At the bottom of the cover, you'll see that Alpine Shuffle is mentioned. We didn't own the cover, but we got a good mention on it. And then there's a 6-page feature in that issue. And I estimate almost $12,000 in ad value from that editorial. And then this, Eat Drink Texas, is a brand new media entity, a multi-platform something they call it. I can't remember exactly, but it's journalists, videographers, and photographers are putting together media about dining and drinking in the state. And they were coming out to the Big Bend. I reached out to them with some suggestions of places they would come see in Alpine, and they were going to come here anyway. But we got them some nights at the Holland and sent them up Hancock Hill in the morning, and we wound up being the first community featured on their site. And so this is Marfa was the second, and so you see Terling was coming soon. But they started in the Big Bend and they started with Alpine, which was really, really nice. And they shot a great video and had a lot of content, and they've been posting on their Instagram and Facebook a lot of stuff about Taste and See Bakery and La Calavera and various other places in town. And that is all my pictures. Other activities that I've been doing through the month. The main other thing I would point out is that my work under my new contract involves contracting for all of the advertising for the events that are funded. So I'm handling the advertising directly to the publications, and that's new. And that hopefully will help Megan and keep our budget on track. And so we'll have more internal information about what we're spending and when. But the groups that I worked with in the last couple of months were Center for Big Bend Studies, the Big Bend Film Commission, Art Walk, the Trans-Pecos Ultra race down at Big Bend Ranch State Park. They start and end their event in Alpine. The Museum of the Big Bend, the Texas Mountain Trail, and their Wild West Bird Fest. I answered some questions for Viva Big Bend. I've worked quite a bit with Christmas in Alpine, but they weren't using any hotel tax for that event, even though the Alpine Downtown Association was awarded funds, they weren't used for that particular event. And the other thing I've been working with groups on Sul Ross for the Big Bend Comic Con. That was something that the Sul Ross Library did for several years. They decided it was too much for them, and a coalition of students and faculty are planning for next year, so I've been assisting them. And there's a lot of more or less minutia in my report. If you had any questions about anything else, but that was all I was going to call out for.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
how many did on hotel occupancy?
The data I have is months old. Our best source right now is the Texas Hotel Lodging Association, which we have a full membership for the first time this year. They receive the data because they have an open Freedom of Information Act request to the controller. And so the several months after the receipts come in, they get those reports, and then I ask them to then send them to me. So the last numbers I have are from second quarter of 2017.
Well, it just might be nice to see what that data looks like. I mean, if we're in the 90% range, that's one thing. If we're down to the 50% range, that's something different. But I just think as we think about where we are in terms of total hotels, it might be helpful to really look at the fact others coming in, occupancy rates are huge.
Of course it is, yes. Anecdotally, we're doing very well on the weekends and pretty well midweek, but of course less so. What we're seeing in Fort Stockton, Midland is the exact opposite, because so much of their, when I speak to those guys, their traffic is so much around the energy sector, so they're full during the week, and less so than the weekend. So we're sort of mirror image of their activity. But yes, I'll follow up with THLA and see if I can't, on an ongoing basis, give you the latest with this report. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll move on forward to public hearings, and we have none, correct? Okay, then we'll go to item 6, consent agenda, minutes, financial reports, department written reports, and board appointments. Notice to the public, the following items are routine administrative nature. The council has been furnished with background supportive material. Each item already has been discussed with us. Has been discussed at a previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by a council member, in which event the items will immediately be withdrawn for individual consideration in its normal sequence after the item not requiring separate discussion have been acted upon. The remaining items will be adopted by one vote. City Manager.
Mayor, item A on the consent agenda is approval of minutes from the city council meeting on November 6, 2018. Approve updated job descriptions for the city manager, director of finance, assistant city manager, fire chief, fire marshal, technician 1, 2, and 3. C is appoint Tom Kennedy to replace Carl Fleming as a member at large for the Planning and Zoning Commission. D is discuss, consider, or take action to approve resolution 2018-12-1 for the Stone Garden grant to the Alpine Police Department in the amount of $71,236.32. And the last one is discuss, consider, take action to approve resolution 2018-12-2 for the local border security program to the Alpine Police Department in the amount of $10,500.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as written.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote on it. Those in favor, raise your right hand.
I would, another bit of the minutes actually on these. job descriptions.
Okay,
On the,
We'll pull that out. And that'll be an action item.
So if you want to pull it out, you need to vote and then do another motion.
item B, the updated job description.
Okay, any discussion?
So you'll need to vote on the original motion.
And on the original motion, which Councilman Stevens made, raise your right hand to approve.
Will we vote on the amendment? Well,
We're withdrawing that.
So you've got a motion to approve as written that you'll need to vote on.
Right, and then
And if the motion fails, then you'll go to the second motion to pull out item B, and then you'll get a motion to approve the reading minutes.
understand that. Okay, Jill, understand?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those against the motion, raise your right hand. Okay, the motion fails. Right now, on the second motion, which Councilman Scaletta presented, which you did.
Yes. I'll make a motion to, item B, approve updated job descriptions to the.
And
And approve items A, C, D, and D, C, A, C, D. Yes.
okay,
And Maria, you second that?
okay, motion made, second, any discussion? Seeing none, we're going item B later on. Okay, so all those in favor of the new motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign, motion carries. We pull out item B. Okay, let's move over to item 7, information or discussion items. Quarterly report. And we'll start with Management Coordinator Stephanie Elmore.
Hello, everybody. So first off, what I wanted to start off with is I recently talked to Alpine Fire Department, and we're supposed to be getting water tanks out in Double Diamond, and they agreed that they're going to help us maintain them. So anytime that there's an emergency, they will be in charge of filling the water back up. Also, we're updating and creating a new map with all the tank locations, and we're going to be getting a map for dispatch, both dispatches, county and city, fire and any emergency services. And then I'm going to start maintaining them, so we're going to start preparing them for winter freeze. And I know there's one in the city limits needs to be replaced. Some parts of it needs to be replaced, so I'm going to start working on that. I just finished the pre-planned event board with TDM, which has all the city and county events that are going on, and I will start working on the 2019 one, and I will get that to TDM, and it's just for state situational awareness. I don't know if y'all heard, but kind of the new thing that's going on is earthquakes in this area. The judge just recently went to go talk to the COG, and so now we're getting ready for that. If y'all didn't know, on Hancock Hill, there's a seismic station. I actually worked on that for my undergraduate project with UT Austin. So that kind of helps on knowing what's going on in this area. You can check different things like P waves, S waves, what's going on in the ground. And so the last earthquake was in 1995, and that was at a 5.4 magnitude. And then there's one in Valentine's 50 years before that. So now we're getting prepared for our next one. There's also grants that will be available next year, and just for preparedness, so we will start working on that. We'll have a tabletop with FEMA in April for earthquakes, and I will actually be meeting with the Emergency Management Coordinator of El Paso and their EOC, and I will be teaching them about earthquakes in the area and kind of give them an idea of what happens, what goes on, so I'm pretty excited about that. On November 19th, TxDOT had a meeting, and it was just to inform us on the wintry weather that's coming up. So I know we do have annexes that tell us, who does what and what we need to do in case of any emergency. But the judge and I are going to create this flow chart that kind of like if the mayor were to come in, what he needs to do, we'll already have it laid out. The city manager comes in, what she needs to do, have it laid out, just so we can be prepared. And the flow chart will also have resources, locations, and different shelters. I will be getting with Road and Bridge. We're going to create a list of generators, and I will start doing ride-alongs with them. And I'm going to learn how to inspect them and what to do in case one goes out. For example, on Ord Mountain 2 days ago, the one for KVLF, it never turned on when we lost power. Well, it turns out it didn't have propane, so we got that refilled, and I will be checking those once a month. I'm going to add that to my list of things to do, along with the other ones that Road and Bridge is going to show me. And we're also, so the West Texas Food Bank, we want to create and make that into a substation. But first, that way we can prepare for the winter, whether we're gonna try to get a generator there, so that could be an emergency shelter as well. Because I know we have the EOC, the judge has also said that Commissioner's Courtroom could be an emergency shelter. And so now we wanna get the Old West Texas Food Bank one, and if y'all don't know, that's also the, now the Ag Extension Agent Office. One main thing that we're still working on is HyperReach. So I know the judge wants to really focus on that for this month, make it more effective, get it out to the people, make sure they know about the app and how to get the notifications. And then, so I just submitted the regional implementation plan. And so some of the things that we decided to focus on this year is training. So we're going to have a train derailment training tabletop exercise. And we're hoping to have that in February, and a T600 disaster training. And then I also talked with Alpine Volunteer Fire Department, and we're trying to figure out when to do trainings and when the best time is for their volunteers. So we're looking around the end of February to bring TM or TEEX to come and teach them. That way, because their volunteers are mostly college kids, so they're gone in December, they're gone in the summer. I know when their finals are, because I'm going to school there, so it's easy for me to kind of figure out when to decide and get with the department to put their trainings together. All I have.
Great report. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
One question. I'm intrigued by the earthquake preparations emergency plan. That's very interesting. Primarily keeping in mind or in light that there was an earthquake in Snyder, Texas, and then just a few miles from Pecos, which is not very far away from us.
No, not at all.
So this actually falls in line. But I'm just curious, have you guys had any information on any after effects from those two folks?
No, I haven't. But I know, like, whenever getting prepared for this, back in 1995, I was actually talking to the judge today, and he said that people were sounding off alarms and this and that, and no one actually knew what was going on. I know a lot of people thought it was a train derailment. They weren't sure what was happening. So if we kind of know what's going on, that'll help us. And with this, there is a website. It's on BEG, which is Bureau of Economic Geology, UT Austin. With this, you're able to track what's going on in this area. So you'll be able to see if there's any minor earthquakes, like at a 2.1, 2.2. You're able to see the aftershocks. It just kind of gives you an idea of what's going on in this area. And you can even see them around. So UT installed 52 seismic machines, and I believe there's one in Van Horn. So you can see all the way from here to Van Horn or any other seismic machine that you want to see across it.
Now, one of those, I get a report every time there's an earthquake up 2.0 in the area. And there's one that is probably 2 years. To southeast of us.
Is that due pretty much to the fracking?
That's the assumption, don't tell them that's
So-
that's the rates.
So yeah, it has to do with the fracking, and also since we're right along the Rio Grande Rift, with the plates moving and the fracking, it's creating all these cracks in the ground. So it's just.
I'm just curious about when an earthquake, like even as far as like this purchase, just hypothetical, having impact on our water lines situation for now.
That I don't know. I'm not close enough to know. My expert's probably closer than that.
I'm not too sure about that.
I would
But I
say
can-
that it could. We have a lot of water lines that have no bedding anymore because they've been in the ground, so they're just lying on rock. So if it's close enough and there's enough shock or ripple effect, we might see some damage to our water lines. But I don't think at this point, I wouldn't be confident in saying that any of our recent leaks are related to those issues. Mayor, if I may, sorry, go ahead.
So I have two questions. Where is the seismic station on Hancock? I have a lot of property up there. I want to make sure I don't do anything if it's on my property.
So if you go on Highway 90 and you turn where the vineyard is, and you go straight down that road, if you take a left, I don't know the road name, but if you take a left, it's on a dirt road, and it's like halfway up the hill.
Is it on university property?
Yes, it
Thank you
is.
for answering that question. The next question, I don't know about. Next is the water tanks. What are the size of the water tanks that we're
They're
putting?
gonna be 5,000-gallon water tank. And those will be in double diamond when we get those in, but right now we're just worried about getting these prepared for winter.
Okay, great. Thank you. My question.
Mayor, just to add on to her number 4 regarding that November 19th meeting, we kind of came up with our own kind of city side thing to go along with what TechStop was doing as far as that preparation. I believe there's a press release that went out. Is Keila here? Speak. Just reminding people that wintry weather is coming and they should plan ahead, do some home preparation kits. Ellen at the visitor center has reached out to the hotels so that she can get a contact to find out what their occupancy levels are in case we have stranded travelers, and looking at getting some kind of like little packets for them for their hotel rooms if they do get stranded here. The issue kind of, or the purpose of this meeting and the reason it came up is that the TechStop staff here is being pilfered by other regions that have larger cities. And so in case of a winter storm, they would basically lay the sand and then most of their equipment and personnel would move to the larger areas and they would not be able to come back and maintain the roads as they have in the past. Chris Weber wanted to have the meeting in order to prepare everyone and let them know that they would not be able to be here, could not commit to being here to keeping these roads open. And so we've got another follow-up meeting week after next. I think it's still a tentative date to kind of follow up and to bring in kind of more stakeholders. I wasn't able to make the 19th meeting. Was the hospital there?
Yes.
Oh, this is the hospital. But I think there were some other stakeholders that weren't able to attend that meeting. We want to make sure that everyone's aware of what TechStop capabilities are and when it comes to flying patients out, maybe because ground transport won't be available, just different issues.
We're all working together as Tri-County, so.
If we talk to the civic center, it's possible.
We would need to get a generator for it because we don't have a gas heater in it. We need to get a generator so that the power goes out and there's no.
Yeah, so I think we can talk about that prior to you being here.
Well, we went through it last year. We had it set up and then realized if AE's going to do rolling brownouts, it's probably not the best place to put people. We relocated it to be used.
Do you know what size generator?
No, there is. I did check with the gas department, and at one point in time, it was hooked up with gas, and it's just something that we just haven't been able to come back around to see about either getting a generator or getting the gas.
The cheapest route to go.
Yep.
Effective. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to the court report. It'll be the Alpine Public Library, Executive Director Don Wettenauer.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to start out by saying on behalf of myself, the library board of directors, our volunteers, the staff, the 8,800 some Brewster County Alpine residents that have library cards, we thank the city for supporting the Alpine Public Library. The city and the county combined provide about 36% of our budget. Your support is a huge help as we work to raise the other 64% through fundraising, sales at the library, donations from the community, grants from private and corporate organizations. We are all passionate about fulfilling our mission to provide information and resources to the community to encourage literacy and promote lifelong learning. And I also appreciate the chance to come here and update you on progress at the library as the year goes on. As you know, literacy starts early, and I want to talk a little bit about one of our kids programs. At the library, we place a lot of importance on children's activities. I've mentioned our family STEAM night in the past, and the first purpose of the family STEAM night is to encourage family learning. We are a sturdy community of working families. Most parents clock in at some time in the morning, work hard all day, clock out, go home, and spend time with their families at night. And it's easy for people to conclude that child brain development is the same way. You go to school, clock into learning, come home, clock out of learning at night. However, with engaging and thoughtful activities offered in a relaxed atmosphere, we hope to demonstrate to parents that their children are learning at all times. They are always clocked in, and family learning is a powerful tool they can use to promote child brain development, regardless of a parent's education level. I'm happy to say that we received a $5,500 grant from the Hauncher Library Foundation to support our family's theme night. We're getting a good turnout, about 30 or 40 people. And the grant funding will help us improve our offerings. The next theme night is on December 12th and will feature mathematics. In January, we worked with spiral laterals. In February, it's slime, oblique, magnetic putty, kinetic sand, and magic sand. And the program I'm particularly interested in is Bozobots in March. Bozobots are toy robots that are used to teach basic programming principles. Families must think sequentially, use logic and reason, solve problems, carry out tests, and apply engineering design principles. The last theme night before school lets out for the summer will be in April, and that will feature nonprofits. On December 8th, at 10 o'clock, we're having our next Saturday story time. We'll have a visit with Santa, holiday stories, a puppet show, crafts, games, and refreshments. And coming up in January is our annual dental health outreach to area schools and daycares. We expect to reach about 375 kids. There will be a dental hygiene instruction and an ever-popular exploding toothpaste science demonstration. And each child will receive a toothbrush and toothpaste. The toddler time on Thursdays continues to be a very popular weekly activity. And our Wonderful Carnival just before Halloween was attended by about 300 kids and parents. We had games, puzzles, lots of interesting costumes, storytelling, and hot dogs. This year we added a haunted house with two versions, a scary and a not so scary, and it was well received. We had library and National Honor Society volunteers made the event a success, and attendees and volunteers all had a good time. Adult programs like Tai Chi, karate, yarn arts, theater coffee, and travel talk are well attended, and we have a couple of new adult programs that are being considered for next year. A terrific Tuesday lunch will be on December 18th, and the menu is loaded baked potato, dessert, and beverage. Our biggest fundraiser of the year is the silent auction during Halloween. This year, the library made about $16,000, and that's down a little bit from last year. Normally, I think we had fewer bidders this year. In the past, we give out 300 to 400 bidding numbers, and this year we were just over 200. So we had some good money, but there weren't a whole lot of people. We are exploring other possible fundraising ideas. My cohorts in more popular areas of the state tell us that if you can't raise $50,000 in a fundraiser, you shouldn't even have it. That doesn't quite work here. So anyway, it's true that fundraisers wear out your volunteers, and the silent auction takes a lot of volunteer time and effort. So we're going to keep looking for different kinds of fundraisers, and we'll try to find events that aren't so taxing on the volunteers that have to help us. During the Christmas and New Year holiday, we're going to have an abbreviated schedule at the library. Some of the classes will not meet depending on the instructor. The library will be closed on December 23rd, 24th, and 25th, and again on the 31st and January 1st. But December 26th and 29th, we're going to offer abbreviated hours. The library and readings will be open daily from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. That gives everybody a chance to come in and turn in their readings and read. In November, we received a $10,000 grant from the Union Pacific Foundation to be used towards our campaign for kids. We plan to use the grant money to add a couple of tutoring rooms that we really need. We will repurpose part of the rereads workroom into a tutoring area. Related to the tutoring rooms, we received a donation from Dick and Jean Zimmer for a portable storage unit that we placed on the north side of the adult library. That will be a big help since our limited storage space is already filled to capacity. The storage unit will also allow us to do some reorganizing and more efficiently use our main library space. And then just today, at a press conference in Midland, we received a grant from the Permian Basin Area Foundation in the amount of $25,000. And that's going to be used for general operating support. Permian Basin Area Foundation has been a long-time supporter of Alpine. And they were also one of the first foundations to express an interest in our campaign expansion. Finally, I'd like to report that I'm one of 20 people from small libraries across the state that were selected to partner in a newly funded federal program at the Texas Women's University with a specific focus on community engagement in small and rural communities in Texas. The purpose of the online program is to prepare librarians to use information and communication technology to facilitate positive changes in small communities through civic engagement and coalition work. The grant includes a scholarship toward a Master of Library Science degree, a travel stipend to attend the Texas Library Association annual conference in 2019 and 2020, plus additional workshops and trainings for leadership and community development. I'm looking forward to the professional development and also the travel stipends of the annual conference with Hope at Library Budget. Thank you for listening. That's all I've got. Any questions?
City Council, I have to thank you and the staff you out there. I was telling you, past week, I talked to you. That's a great job y'all do.
Great. I'm trying to have a little bit
Job well
customer,
done.
so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Is he done? Can you remind me the age target for the December 12th session and what time that's going to be?
That's the family round. Yeah, that's at 6:30 to 7:30 on Wednesday evening, and it's ages up to 12.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item C, City Council.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. So the purpose of this is really have a dialogue about the concept for addressing, it's listed there as a business permit, but it's more about a business registration process, trying to respond to three things. One is we have a discussion about Airbnbs and talked to Mick McCamey. Mick's been doing some research. He sent me a white paper. It says, hey, there's an approach to go do that other cities have used. It may be a mechanism for us to find out who the Airbnbs are and having a registration for that. Very low cost. It's not about trying to make any money. It's just to cover the cost of registration to make sure we're getting our Airbnb from the Airbnbs that hotel occupants. Second item is concern from the city standpoint. There's a lot of cases where businesses may leave and the city may miss out on utilities. So consideration about could you apply that business registration fee to that as well. Third is there are lots of construction activities that go on in the city. Some are done by licensed contractors, some are not. Is there a mechanism to put that in place so that the city would be a resource for citizens to go to that says here are the licensed contractors, they're in good standing, so they can go to those. If they're not on the list, then the citizens be forewarned that they may or may not be licensed in the process. There are a lot of things to sort through on this before doing anything, but I wanted to bring it up to council just to say, here's kind of a thought process. What Nick and Jessica and I have talked about is doing a workshop and bringing some draft documents into council for discussion or open forum. We can talk about them before we bring anything forward. But that was really the intent, to make sure you're all aware and see if you all say, yeah, it seems to make sense. And until an ordinance or anything gets put together, nothing actually happens. But I think it's a worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, that's some added revenues that we can generate by doing that. Correct me if I'm wrong, at the state ordinance that the list of Airbnbs and they didn't help the local city governments on that.
As it turned out in the state of Louisiana, this is the work that Nick's done, and particularly in New Orleans, they were able to put language in place that resulted in New Orleans and the municipalities around the state getting $173 million for that was in 2016. Where Airbnb is in that process now, they certainly have been supporting states, but not the local municipalities. And as we think about, item E on our agenda discussion, what are the things we want to talk about in the next legislative session? That's probably one we want to put on the agenda. So, I'll take that as a, hey, press on, a lot more work to do, we'll talk about it.
And the other one that you said about the permits on contractors, get the contractors rather than I think that's long overdue because the consumer is the one that suffers in the end. And, you know, the contract will get their money, they're gone, and consumers stuck with that, doing repairs. So, yeah, that's sorely needed.
Well, I don't know.
I agree. I think a workshop, we could organize a workshop to gather information, maybe look at the documentation we have now, and start maybe preparing a more suitable feature. But the future is great. One thing I would recommend is, I know at this, we're talking about city management in the councils, and we gotta open it up to also to private individuals, residents. They may come in and offer some good information for us.
Yeah, I think there's two parts. One, if we can get a kind of a construct with Nick to kind of get some draft together, then we have to pull everyone else into the discussion to continue, because that at least gives us a starting point. But I agree, we definitely, before we do anything with this, before we even take it to public hearing, we want to have an open forum for others. So I think it's going to take better part of 4 or 5 months.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions? Okay, let's move to item B. And I'll turn that over to Councilman Escobedo or Councilman Steve.
You take a shot, you want to take a shot?
Discuss whether or not to permit angle parking on 6th Street. I make a motion.
Well, that's not.
But it's on the action item.
Discussion.
Just for discussion.
So, well, I take a shot at this. Some background, okay, because we're trying to lead up to this. So as a reminder to council, in 2010, there was an ordinance to make 6th Street one way. And we had that discussion at the last meeting. We elected to leave that in place. A few months prior to that, there was an ordinance in 2010 that talked about putting no parking on the east side of 6th Street, and there was a designated loading and unloading zone. Between those two ordinances, the intent was to look at angled parking on 6th Street, and that never got put in place. So by reaffirming the one-way, that allows us to move forward to work the angled parking. We are blessed to have Walt Pyle who's committed to pay for striping of the angled parking, but we have some things to go work to make that happen. One, we have to affirm the no parking on the east side for all of those locations, and that requires an ordinance for us to take action on. The second thing we need to do is and talk about, a draft ordinance to put in place the angled parking. We then come back to a public hearing, and then the final ordinance for that. There's been some discussions looking at, is it 45-degree angle or 60-degree angle? I think the predominant discussion says if you get 45 degrees, you get better parking out of it, and there's still sufficient space to go do that. The intent for bringing it up tonight was just to say, hey, I think it makes sense to head down that path. I'll take the lead on putting the documentation together, make sure we work back with the city, because that's city property, work with the owners, work with Walt, and then bring back a draft ordinance for the first meeting that we have on the 8th of January for council review, consistent with our policy. We then bring it up, put it out to public hearing, and then bring it back for approval. And it would include in that draft ordinance, first, eliminating the loading zone on the east side, also making it no parking on the east side, and then the last element would be to affirm the angled parking at 45 degrees, and then last but not least, affirming the city to accept the donation from Walt Pyle to go make that happen. Walt's already done some work with the contractor and his repair team will provide that funding. So if council's okay with that, I'll take the lead.
Question, will we get more parking versus the parallel parking, but good at an angle?
At the 45 degree, we'll get equal to, if not more. By eliminating the unloading zone, we're going to get an extra space anyway, but at the 45 degree, you get essentially the same work.
So the loading zone would be where?
So there's one loading zone that they'll be gone.
It'll be
It's
gone.
no longer needed.
So, okay,
There's two loading zones on Sixth Street right now. One is an action item for this evening, to recommend eliminating that. The other one is by, it's on the east side, closest to Holland, where there was a shop there where the loading zone seemed to make sense, doesn't seem to make sense.
that's what I was kind of concerned about, because I know there's a couple of shops in there.
It'll still be a no parking,
Still no parking, yes, no parking.
still no parking.
The only question I have is, in referring to the schematic that was presented by
David?
Reverend Posey. It says 20 spaces. Is there enough space for 20 cars?
And that, in my mind, that's part of the process of going through, getting all that validated with the city from a street standpoint to say, yeah, really, all that's gonna work. Dave's done a nice job on that.
No, it's very good.
Yeah. So you're okay with that? I'll let them know that.
Is David here?
No, Dave.
So I know Lucy met with David Busey.
I did, and we discussed that, map that someone has, he'll turn it out in color, but he submitted it, and, really it looks better in color, where he has it.
Get that, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Oh, yes.
potential. Where there's, he wants to see if we can also kind of pictures on there
Yeah, I think the planters were in the,
Part of the
in
original.
2010, that was, the planters were there. And David Busey he wants to go ahead and get that finished out.
Question will be budget, who pays for it, how it's all get worked
Yeah,
out. My
that's-
view is we have some work to do before we bring it forward with
Right,
that.
before we do the whole thing, yes.
I think it'll be really nice in the end with the planners there.
All right, and it'll also encourage more people to visit the church and walk through that.
And my view is we've got some work to do with P and Z to make sure we're all square on that side, so. We'll work with you on that.
Yes, sir.
Well, probably this is not our-
One thing is,
This is not, it's
Okay.
not a public comment, it's just.
I just want to make note,
Yeah.
make you understand that you've got in your packet this week, the 60-degree parking, it's going to provide 20 spaces. We changed it from 45 to 60,
So
so
we'll work it all.
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter, but I just want to make
We
sure
got both of them.
there's 20 spaces.
Okay, any more discussion on this?
How many spaces are there now, just in the parallel on both sides? I can't remember.
18.
Okay, I know what
That's if you
time.
take out the two spaces that are going
So what we could possibly gain.
Yeah,
Alright,
it's 5, 5, 4, 4. That's the 18.
I do it.
Yeah.
That's a burden.
Yep, yeah, well, that's true.
And I think that's gonna be the challenge, is the oversized vehicles, like people with wheelbase, extended beds, things like that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the challenge to make sure that they're consistently 19 or 20 foot.
That's why we gotta look at the angle when they park those dudes, where they swung with and whatnot.
So probably knows the word before you, but you bring it. No,
Right,
we'll-
I'll bring
we'll
this
go
around
with
and get a little behind.
Yeah, it's kind of stick out a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to, E and Councilman Stevens.
Yes, sir. So the reason I brought this up, and I appreciate you've all had the opportunity to look at the 4 pages about what's on the 2019 Texas legislative session. A reminder, this is the 86th session. It runs 140 days. It starts on the 8th of January. And as Jessica and I have had a discussion about, there are 12 steps before you get anything passed in our legislature. So it's not 1 year that it takes. It takes, at best, 3 legislative sessions to get anything through. In many cases, longer than that. Since they meet every year, that's a long time to be able to pass.
Sometimes they get lost.
You know, sometimes they get lost, or priorities, or whatever. But I think it's important for all of us to walk through the municipal policy summit that was put together, talked about legislation that is harmful to cities because the state wants to take things away from us, things that we want to go off and support. And what's interesting is the Airbnb stuff is not on here at all. So I think we as a city need to affirm that which is there, but I think we also want to get back into TML to have the Airbnb discussion. It's going to take a long time to work through, but I thought it worthwhile at least bring up to make sure we're all up to speed on what the legislature's doing.
I think, it's important.
So, I'm sorry, this was prepared by Mick, so if you want to have any questions.
Yeah, I would like to add, I served on the Municipal Policy
Can't hear you,
Summit.
Nick.
Oh, gosh.
Unmute button.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
No sound, Mick.
We had some sound problems both ways earlier. I'm sorry about
We
that.
see you, we can't hear you.
I know. Abel, can you hear me?
Mick?
Yeah. Any luck?
Well, while we're finding the sound with Mick, I think the one other item that I would want to go after legislative is the removal of that 50% requirement on the use of our hot funds to allow us to have a little bit more revenue, capital improvements that we those hot funds.
Yeah, it's not only city council issues that's taking the initiative. I think the residents of the municipalities ought to take action by contacting your state legislatures. Because the state is trying to erode a lot of the powers of home rule cities. And so, they say, well, we want federal government to stay out of Texas, but they're doing the same thing to us. So I think it's in the interest of everybody here to call your state legislature and tell them how you feel about it and whatnot.
So we probably ought to orchestrate that and put out some specific items for people to focus on. Get it
Okay.
out.
I'm not on mute. Can you hear me?
Now we got you.
Okay, Abel had to do something magical. I don't know. Let me just interject real quickly, Mayor. I served on the Municipal Policy Summit, which produced that report, and I represented the city of Alpine there, and I also served on the Texas Municipal League Resolutions Committee, which has met since that report was compiled. Again, I was representing and a voting member of that committee on behalf of the city of Alpine. So I think that summary booklet, the summary report that you have is very useful just to skim over and glance through, because as the committees for the legislature are going to start meeting. Well, some of them have already started meeting, but they're definitely going to start meeting after the first of the year. So as things happen, we'll give you updates to that Municipal Policy Summit report as to what the items going to the legislature are. So I just wanted you guys to know that for the last 4 years, I've served on the last 2 terms anyway, I've served on those committees on behalf of the city of Alpine.
So Mick, to the mayor's point,
Mm-hmm.
what's the best way to orchestrate how we ask people to contact their state representative or state senator so that we're doing the constituency activities in time with committee meetings so they've got the right input from the constituents?
Well, I think that's just using your groundwork there locally to get things out to the public if you can, like at a council meeting like this, and participate in your regional TML meetings. Some things can go through there that percolate back up and get to the legislature. I know Alpine representatives have routinely participated in those meetings. There'll be a lot of discussion at those regional meetings about legislation as well. And then there's nothing wrong with continuing to contact the TML representatives and bring up issues from your community. But as far as mobilizing your citizenry on items of concern, I guess that's what you guys were elected to do. I mean, I think it just takes legwork to get that done.
So in the past, I've always followed kind of what the legislature's been doing. TML sends out an update. I kind of review all the items, and if there's something that impacts the city, I email all of you, but also put a notice up on our website that encourages the citizens. And hopefully in a few weeks, we'll have a Facebook page up. But we've always done public awareness, press releases out to the media, and then used social media to let the citizens know, these are your representatives at the state level. Please contact them to support or not to support different items of legislation that come up. But you all as council, the interactions that you have are probably more effective face-to-face and word of mouth and encouraging people to contact those elected officials than any other kind of outreach strategy that we do. It doesn't hurt for us to do it. It keeps kind of the thought out there in the public. But it's always that face-to-face interaction that you all have with your constituents that is much more effective.
Because, you know, oftentimes our constituents think it's the city that's doing it, but actually it's the state mandates that are coming down the line. So, but we do need to get involved in this, not only as council, but as the public. Okay, because these items that the changes they want to do will certainly hurt the way cities operate in the future.
So Jessica, I mean, the reality, having been at the federal level many times on many items, it gets down to a bill. SB, HB. We're going to need that information so we can really target people. So if you can help us with those, we can do that work. But without that, they get so many inputs from constituents that without that information, they're just, thanks for your call, have a nice day, because it's going to be a junior staffer who gets the input. And as you know, it's all about talents. Who's for, who's against.
Right.
And that's what's important. So if you know that, that'd be great.
Yeah, a lot of times junior staffers do not get over it for a while.
I may even send you all an email or give you guys a call. Somebody's got to get to Austin because there's a hearing.
Yep.
And see who's available to get to Austin to speak. Done it several times at different. But it is always much better to hear from the local elected officials.
We were there on a regular basis at the state level when I worked with AT&T, you know, talking to legislators and stuff like that. And a lot of them don't read the bills before them.
No.
It's just a small summation that the aide gives them. And that's what they go by. And I found that out from Washington. We're talking to a congressman and he's, oh, it's a great bill, it's a great bill. I stayed up till 3 that morning reading that bill in its entirety. And I started bringing all these issues to them. Oh, I didn't know that. But yet they were going to vote on it.
Vic, do you get those updates as well?
Yes, I do.
The hearing calendars and
Yes, we get those, but it's great that you're doing that, Jessica. That's putting things on the website or identifying matters for the citizens. I'm also, of course, involved with the City Attorneys Association, and we'll hear things from other cities that we may not have thought about here that are going on, and we can pass those along as well. Because as I said, starting probably next month, it's going to heat up and we'll have things popping that you guys will want to get involved with.
you always want to watch out for those last minute amendments that they try to sneak in. And that's when everybody's got to mobilize pretty quickly.
So when they want to target, I'll say the top 3 to 5, because we can't watch everything legislative. Yeah, you can, but in terms of mobilizing people to go do something, it's 3 to 5. So you may want to think about what are the top 3 to 5, and maybe come back in the next city council meeting, which ones those are, so we'll be watching.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of facts, including where funds are coming from, if applicable. Action items limited up to 10 per meeting. Citizens are allowed to comment limited to 3 minutes. After being called upon by the mayor, citizens are required to state their name and the ward in which they reside. Priority will be given to the citizens of Alpine and those who own business or property in the city. Individuals who do not live in or own business or property in the city limits of Alpine will be allowed to speak if there's time available. So let's start with the first one, Councilman Rivas.
So, Councilman, I bring before you this concept of discussing, considering and maybe hopefully taking action regarding the mounting of descriptive plaques portraying Alpine residents for which municipal parks were named. Example, Coconut Park, Banks Park, and Juan Medina Park. In your packets, you would have received, although it's in black and white, photographs of Coconut Park, Bain Park, and Medina Park, especially the entrance parks. And I bring this up because I've had 5 residents from Ward 2 asking me, Medina Park, small, functional, well kept, and it's quite a tremendous addition to that part of the city. But who is Juan Medina? And I said, I don't know, but I'll look for information. So I started Googling and talking to people, and the only thing I found is that Juan Medina apparently was one of us, a city employee who apparently was in charge of working in municipal parks. And that's very interesting. So with that, I then went over to Baines Park to see if there was anything at Baines Park that might offer some information about who George Baines was. And the same thing for, and a little Googling on them. And with them, I did find extensive information about who they were contributing. Well, one thing I did notice, as it shows in the photograph, all of the parks do have the same basic structure of where the entrance sign is located. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be wonderful if on that rock structure there could be a little space where maybe you could put a plaque at that certain price when the park was established and who it was named after, a little bit about the individual, give some recognition to that special resident for which the park was identified with. And first question will come up, well, who's going to pay for this? Maybe this go around we could start thinking about a concept plan, and maybe next budgeting cycle we can add it into that consideration.
And give a little history as to where these parks came from.
I think as far as the council goes, you'll probably create kind of your specs that would be built into your ordinance, that the plaques would have to, where they would be placed and how they would be paid for and or permitted or allowed. I know the Parks Advisory Board is going to be hearing a request to rename this fall park here, and there's something really outlined in your ordinances as to what it has to be made of, where it has to be placed, or anything like that. I think putting some specs together that's built into an ordinance will make sure that they're consistent as well and that they're durable.
Right. Any comments?
So it doesn't sound like there's a specific proposal or action. Are you gonna go do the homework alone to help us steer us through that?
I can help with the homework. I was thinking the possibility, alternative, since we have a Parks Advisory Board, that maybe they might want to look into it when it comes to the concept plan. And then offer it to council. But I'll be happy to be part of that team.
They'll be meeting on the 12th. That's it next week.
December 12th, yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's a good idea to get the Parks Advisory Board.
And as councilman, can I bring up the topic or?
I believe they do have a
Or should
public
the representative?
citizen comment section.
I'd go Kirsten and ask her, this is, hey, put this on the agenda, please. You can give her a call. Sure.
Sounds good. Okay.
Item 2, city manager.
This is discuss, consider, and take action to adopt resolution 2018-12-3 designating a management service for the application and project implementation of the 2019-2020 community development funds administered by the Texas Department of Agriculture. We sent out an solicitation for RFQs. We did receive one proposal back, and that would be from GrantWorks, who is our current grant administrator on our current CDBG project. So the request is to accept that and award the contract to GrantWorks
And it doesn't cost us anything.
at this point. Jerry's here. Yeah, Jerry's here.
Is that right, Jerry?
Oh, sir.
Okay.
If the project's done, then
Could you
yes.
please step up to the podium, please?
Jerry got about $100,000. If the project's funded, then there'll be administration funds as part of the project to pay for it, so it will cost the city a penny.
Yes, sir.
So I move that we adopt resolution 2018-12-03 designating the managed service for the application project implementation for 2019-2020 community development funds administered by the Texas Department of Ag.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, and all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I call you Mark.
Huh,
There you go, that's not included.
yeah. Okay, item 3.
Mayor, this item is discuss, consider, and take action to adopt the City of Alpine Employee Handbook. After hearing comments from most of the council members, either through myself or through Heather, the Human Resource Coordinator, and then taking into consideration Rick's comments at the last meeting and the comments that were submitted by Nick's counterpart. All those changes or clarifications have been built into here. The last meeting, we talked a little bit about the vacation leave thing. We did do some more work on that, and I think we've got it kind of set now where we can move forward with that section as well as us.
Very extensive. I went through it the other day. Not a read. But it's good because we've never had that implemented for the employees. So
The only thing missing is your letter.
I'll put out a letter. I'm not gonna come. Okay.
So to get the ball rolling so we can talk about it, I propose we adopt the City of Alpine Employee Handbook.
There's a second. It's made in second. Any discussion on it?
Good work.
Yeah, nice job.
Good job, Heather.
Yeah.
Heather's pleased.
So
I see a hand in the back.
with that, yes, sir.
I'm Carl from Ward 5. The only thing I'm kind of curious about, did the city council ever get rid of that idea of payday loans? Because city council at one time apparently approved that. And that needs to be struck from any record.
You know, good point on that, Claude, because
It is constitutionally not allowed, and so it's not in here.
yeah, because that drove this city into some issues.
G-O-N-E.
Gone. Okay, it's gone. So, okay, sir. Okay. I'll entertain a motion and this.
So we have a motion and a second.
Oh, we got a motion, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And discussion second, I'm sorry. Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I kind of lost it on that one. Okay, let's go to item number 4, and that's Councilman Stevens.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Mayor. By way of background, we, the city council, approved, I think it's $322,000 in order to get another $2.7 million to mill up and redo the taxiways and the tarmac area for the AlpineCityCouncil12 Municipal Airport, and that work is underway. They started on the 5th of November and promptly shut the airport down for basically 2 weeks and didn't do any work. And it's a multi-phase project, of which the first phase is to last 180 days. And the note they put out shuts down runway 119er, which allows us to bring in the jets. And jet fuel is the biggest fuel consumption at the airport. We get over half our revenue from jet fuel sales, and so to shut down runway 119er, we, the city, find ourselves in a situation that we cannot collect about $200,000 of revenue that we would normally receive, particularly because of what goes on during hunting season, when the guys come in and do their hunts and then head on back out. Had a discussion with Jessica. Jessica leaped into action, pulled a lot of the players together, and we looked at a number of options and strategies aimed at, since the contractor does not work on weekends, being able to open up the runway on Friday, close the business, and reclose it on Monday morning when they come back in. The cost to do that is about $1,300 a weekend. They open and reclose and then repost the notice. That's a notice to airmen that the runway will be open and closed. We met with them earlier this week. Again, Jessica hosted a meeting between the contractor, Dan Williams, the project manager, Lochner, thank you. I can't remember right, who's the project manager for that. And talked about a concept that says the city, Airport Advisory Board, Lochner, and Dan Williams' company would meet weekly to kind of assess the status going forward, so we know when it would make sense to close and open depending upon the work schedule. The good news is this phase one was supposed to go all the way from the 5th of November through the 3rd of May. That's the 180 days. But the good news is they may be finished on the 22nd of December with phase one that will allow them to reopen runway 119. That's great news. We don't know what will go on going forward, but as we talked, the purpose of this motion is to give the city manager the authority to approve up to $35,000 of additional funds to expend so that the airport could be open and then closed so that we maximize the amount of jet traffic we bring in, same time minimize the impact to the contractor so we get this job done as quickly as possible. For me, it's a simple business decision. Do you put up potentially $35,000, which we did not have budgeted, but you'd like to be able to have that available in order to not lose $200,000? And for me, it's a simple business equation that says it's the right thing to go do. My sense is, given the discussion we had earlier this week, I think that number will come in significantly less. But again, it's all about how do you maximize bringing jet aircraft in, because that's our biggest fuel supply. Our consumer is bringing aircraft in from outside. We know that Border Patrol, the helicopters use JP, but they're only, other than the Border Patrol, there are only 2 other aircraft on site that use jet fuel. One of them's mine, the other's the ambulance. We can get in and out, but if you can't bring in a jet aircraft, that's where the risk is. So, with that as background, I would propose that we allocate funds from the general fund of up to $35,000 to cover additional expenses for the tech stop project at the airport in order to maximize fuel sales for the city hall.
So you make that a motion.
That's the motion, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, motion's been made and second. Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to note that this is coming from the general fund. There is not sufficient reserve fund in the airport fund for this. So at some point, we'll have to look at an amendment to the budget to move funds from the general fund. Once we have a final fund, we don't know what that number is going to be at this point, but we will have to come back and amend that budget and then determine from what remaining line items we will pull that money from.
That was going to be my question, where is money coming from? Also, I have to know, in closing the runway, will be under construction. Okay, how is traffic going to impact that runway?
So they're actually not, so the runway is closed because where the taxiway intersects the runway, you've got to close it from a safety standpoint. There is one runway open right now, that's 523, but you can't bring jet aircraft in on it because width for Part 135 operator and length. 119 is really the.
And that is the one.
That's the one. So it's diagonal this way. If
Yeah.
I'm doing it right now. It faces north south. 523 is more east westerly this time. That's where we're at. But 119 is a 6,000 foot runway. than having brought a number of jets in and out of here.
Any questions? Seeing none, motion's made and second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Okay. Let's move on to item number 5.
So, this is, we've had lots of discussion on this. We've had the hearing, public hearing, and this fundamentally is to do away with the right-hand turn at the east-west intersections of Sul Ross and North Fifth. And so, in fact, Freddie is the one that kind of got this ball rolling, but I would propose that we approve ordinance 2018-10-2, repealing ordinance 2017-05-03, which is designated to include only right hand turn on east and west intersections of Sul Ross Avenue and North.
There's a second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I don't think we need to discuss.
I've got to get it done. How soon is it going to be done?
When you sign the ordinance, either tonight or tomorrow, I will make
I will
the
sign
phone
it
call
tonight.
because the
I will
police
sign it
department is
tonight.
like, can we pull the cones yet?
I will do that this evening.
Then tomorrow, they'll be done.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Please come up here, sir.
If it's not.
And it's on item 5.
Well, I kept waving my hand at
I'm sorry.
item number 4. Just a quick question in reference to the airport, Officer Koval's what flight. On this project, and I have to report up there with my friends pretty often, and I know this is an interesting project and it's good, it's made it. But just as a precautionary question here, what are the precautions being taken for this big dance going on Saturday night over there in the middle of this project at the airport? I know there's a dance going on sponsored by several people at one of the big hangars, and no idea. December the 8th, I saw the ad, and I just wanted to see, since we're talking airport projects.
It shouldn't be involved in this one.
Well, it's in
going to
the,
be off.
the hangar.
So I haven't seen anything on it.
Well, this December the 8th, it's $75 a person.
Well,
I just wanted to question that, see where we are since we're from the airport business.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
okay, we're on item 5. Have a motion and second in the discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Thank you for bringing it Item 6, Councilman Stevens.
Sir, so this ordinance, 2018-10-04, talks about repealing an ordinance that was put in place in 2008 to designate an area in front of the Digital Studio, which is on the west side of the one-way 6th Street, as a loading and unloading zone, because at the time, that was a place where you could drop off FedEx packages. That store is no longer there, it's now an Airbnb. It no longer makes sense to leave that loading and unloading zone there. So, which is why the proposal is to repeal the ordinance. So, I propose we approve ordinance 2018-04-10-04, repealing ordinance 20-28-09-07, which is designating to place traffic control signs at designated area in front of the Digital Studios, a loading and unloading zone.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Several seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, item number 7. Councilmember Leo.
Motion to discuss, consider, and take action of ordinance number 2018-10-03, repealing ordinance 2016-04-09, establishing no parking zones as follows. 1, no parking with the exception of a 20-minute loading zone for the remainder of the area in front of Prince on the east side of South 5th Street.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Okay, we've got a second. Any discussion?
I have the question. In light of our discussion earlier on the one-way traffic and meeting, I believe this is the side that we want to remain in no parking zone.
That was the last one.
This one, because this is on the east side of South Bend.
That's it.
Good.
It's inside, it's an inside
Got
track.
it. You're right, the other one's 6th Street.
Saw a hand back there. Carl?
Just off on Ward 5, on the ordinance 2018 10-4, 20897. If I vaguely recall, there were some other things that were involved with 5th Street over there on the south side, saying no parking on the east side of South 5th because of businesses over there, and there was some controversy. I just wondered if just taking this no parking area stands by itself on that ordinance, because there was some other stuff involved over there.
This feels that portion. Feels this portion of that ordinance.
That's in front, correct.
East side.
On the east side. Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none?
Sorry, I messed that all up.
Okay, we're allowed. One mistake.
I think we got some more Christmas cards.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you.
Mayor, next we have item B from the consent agenda.
Okay. You want to bring that up, Ms. Bennett?
Yes. Item B, to approve updated job descriptions for the city manager, director of finance, assistant city manager, fire chief, marshal, addition 1, 2, and 3. My lead.
You'll make a motion.
Well, I think you can do an introduction.
So then I make a motion to discuss. The descriptions.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion made second. Now, open up for discussion.
So my question was, if we have I remember Jessica bringing it up to the council, she wanted me to focus on finances. And then, now Jessica also has an assistant, executive administrative assistant. Director.
So Megan already holds that title from previous council action. And I know we had this discussion when we were reviewing the organizational chart. This basically, she only acts as an interim city manager or as an assistant city manager in my absence. And I think it has that in here under general purpose, that last paragraph. The director of finance also assumes the role and responsibilities of the city manager, acting as the assistant interim city manager in their absence.
And that was approved previously. Correct?
So the title had already kind of been laid out to her. We just kind of kept that the same. But we wanted to clarify at what point she does that. If I were to leave Alpine, the position completely, then council would have to appoint an interim city manager. But if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, you're not meeting for a month. Somebody's got to be interim, acting, or assistant city manager during that.
There's no increase in pay or anything like that. It's just
No.
that she would assume the responsibility. Nothing more.
So it really doesn't change on a daily basis unless I get hit by a bus.
Okay, any more discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I can see the logic and the reasoning behind the title, but every time I see it, for some reason, in my mind, and it's because maybe of my background, it seems like a double title when I look at the position description of the position, it's more director of finance.
That is probably 99% of her
Right.
responsibilities throughout the year. But if I'm out of town, for example, when we were at the conference in Fort Worth, if a disaster had happened here, she would then have the authority to sign documentation or expend resources while in my absence. If I'm at a conference or I'm on vacation, you need somebody here that can step in and then take over those responsibilities in that.
No, that's understandable. The rationale behind it is no problem. It's just when you see that and you read the description, it's more finance. And the assistant city manager duties are sort of in case I'm not here, which is fine. I have no problem. It's just I'm saying that when you look at the title, it's.
I guess it's no different than Councilman Stevens. He's the councilman here, but if my absence, he takes over.
As the mayor pro tem.
Yeah, that's what.
It's the same thing.
And so the executive administrative assistant doesn't really have any authority under her description to sign off on any POs, expend any money, or do anything.
Yeah, that's
She basically just supports me with administrative tasks. She drafts a lot of the press releases that goes out. She gathers information. Her role is not supervisory or she doesn't have any authority to sign off anything.
Yeah, I guess my reasoning comes from my own experience where you have a manager and an assistant manager. The manager is pretty much policy, it's pretty much communication with the general public and so forth, where the assistant manager deals with the everyday operations and
No,
the
not
rest
here.
of the stuff. I know, that's what I was thinking about. You know, the only thing is, the other thing that comes to mind is the rest of the staff, the staff, is it clarified somewhere in memo or some sort of a documentation or document that, yes, the director of finance has this additional duty per title, but it only occurs when the general manager's.
So you've got sorry, go ahead, Rick.
So I think Appendix 1 in the plan is fairly explicit on that, which is the organization chart and diagram. When you go through the details, it talks about the charter, then the mayor and the council, then the city manager, and the director of finance is at the same level as every other direct report. In the case you're talking about, you typically find in the structure, and you would have found someone as the city manager and assistant city manager tends to be in the same box, and people report up to them. And Jessica's done a good job stipulating that in the org chart. No one else reports to Megan other than her team, unless Jessica will be on. And it's an equal handle. So that's the way we communicate to all of us.
And your charter is very clear as far as the council appointing an interim city manager, but there's that lag time, and someone's got to leave between the time you select a city manager and your city manager leaves. I think you guys went 4 months between the time that Eric actually left and the time I started, and that would turn over to you. But it's really not unusual that your director of finance is an assistant city manager or would assume those duties, because that person would be the most informed when it comes to budgets, resources, and finances. And that's really where that responsibility lies with me. The buck stops with me to make sure that the budget is in line, that it's in place, and that people are not abusing the resources that they're being given.
He's also the most experienced overall city staff.
I was just going to say it's kind of the same way in the police department
By yourself.
job. Oh, sorry. Heather Yaden. I don't live in the city. I'm the HR coordinator. I live in the county. I'm just outside, barely. But it's set up the same way that we set up the police department structure. All of their job descriptions say the same thing. If anything happens to the chief, then the captain assumes responsibility, and you have to have that set up immediately. And their roles all the way down from sergeant lieutenant, because they're in emergency situations all the time. If they're out on something and God forbid something would happen to the chief, immediately the captain takes charge of the entire situation. So it's written that way, their job descriptions in the same way. And we can't have her listed as doing all the things that Jessica does, like you're talking about, because we have to have separation of duty when it comes to the separation of finances and the signing of the checks. Megan is the one that controls the financial side. Jessica and Cynthia are the one that wants to sign the checks. So you can't have listed that Megan does all those things that Jessica does as assistant city manager, because she's only assuming responsibility in the case of something happens to Jessica. So if we set it up the exact same way, like I said, with the police department, because of the fact that they are the highest person, but that somebody has to step in and take the role. And like,
It's a succession, it's a built-in succession. So, and I think that when you look at the way we've done these job descriptions with like the worker 1, 2s, and 3s. So they've got a plan to move up, but when you get into the management, you know, the foreman takes over when the manager's not there. The manager's got to assume director responsibilities if the director's not there. So the succession plan is built into the job descriptions.
So, and the same goes for fire chief and fire marshal. As far as I look at that, it's the same duties. Why two?
So they actually, it is actually 2 different jobs. Fire marshal is licensed by the state. Most cities will have that as a separate position. The city of Alpine actually had a fire marshal position before. Because of our agreement with the county, bringing in an administrative fire chief, we gave them dual responsibilities to be the administrative fire chief as well as be the fire marshal. But that also, that's, I think before your fire marshal was under your police department, but it hadn't been filled in a number of years. So we decided to move that over, make that part of the fire chief's duties since it is just administrative. And they're just getting a fire department started. So in 2 years, we may come back and say, okay, the fire chief now needs to separate these duties and you're gonna need somebody else to be the fire marshal. But as a city, you should have a fire marshal to enforce those codes under the fire code, separate, and it's licensed separately from a peace officer, from a building inspector, or from a code enforcement officer. Completely different licenses.
Just one last question. I'm sure my curiosity will be satisfied. The various municipal governments, these position titles, are they pretty much the same? You have like a municipality somewhere else, you have the finance director, assistant manager, chief fire marshal.
it depends on the size of the city too. You're looking, when we looked at different organizations and how it's set up, you know, this city, if it's a bigger city, they don't have a shared title as assistant city manager because they're managing, well, you know, hundreds of employees where we have 70 to 80. So it depends on the size of the city. But if cities comparable to us, this is the same kind of setup that they have to manage in case of the city manager's absence.
I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor of the motion? Raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you. And city council comments and answers. So I'm gonna let.
As long as ladies first, but okay.
Well, she was the first one last time.
Thanks very much for everyone for participating. Good meeting, good discussions, and hope everyone has a great holiday and Christmas, and welcome to the new year with optimism and hope and good weather. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank everybody for coming and for your comments.
Again, thanks everybody for coming, and the best of the Christmas season, and we'll see you next year.
Thanks for coming out, and I can't wait to see those.
I've got some tea in here. I'd like to thank everyone for being here this evening, and y'all have a Merry Christmas and a Merry prosperous New Year's, and be safe out there.
Mr. Mayor, I have to go back. December 11th, our city manager is going to be at the Alpine Country Club for, what do we call it?
Off the record, City Hall huddle.
Yeah, off the record City Hall huddle. So it'll be a great opportunity for everyone to come, have an opportunity to go after Jessica for some good discussions, and really have a good, straightforward dialogue. So Jessica, thank you for that again. December 11th at what time? 6 p.m.
Until they get back.
6
What time
p.m.
am I gonna be there?
And this will be more of an informal way where you can sit down and ask questions and whatnot. So, and I think this is something that's new for the city also. She'll be doing that, like Councilman Olivas and Council Member Escobedo do in doing their little town hall meetings.
Yeah, and I do my radio
And
show.
you do your
every
radio
week.
show, correct?
Yeah.
So it's good for the community to keep you informed, and this gives you the chance to get some dialogue going. Okay, thank you all very much. We're gonna go into executive session.
So, Mr. Mayor, to get that ball rolling, pursuant to Texas Government Code 51-071, consultation with attorney of matter in which the attorney's duty to the government body under the Texas disciplinary rules. Of course, with this chapter, we move into executive session.
Motion's been made, second, should be any discussion. Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those like sign, motion carries. What time is it?
7:15.
7:15.
It's so quick.
We'll take
So no
a
break.
5-minute break.
5 minutes.
2 minutes, 2 minutes.
So one function break.
1 minute break.
One function break.
Unfortunately, break.
So while you're at a break, I'm gonna give you all this stuff, because I know you guys have gotten emails and,
Hey, Ben.
whatnot.
Can you hear us, Nick, still?
Thanks for
I can hear you, yeah.
All right, I'll leave it.
We're not talking about this, but I wanna give everybody this.
So I will send
A
this.
lot of traffic.
Yeah, and.
Backward from home.
Oh, absolutely. Every intersection I looked at it, it's just as busy as that one. And
You want to switch to
one,
Skype?
Yeah, let's try to do that.
That'll work.